popping in the streets, everybody? I believe therefore I'm King Siler. Hope you guys are doing all right today. We're here with a pretty interesting video. This one honestly is kind of more personal for me. I know that not a lot of times people get an opportunity to kind of glimpse in the mind of Siler or who I am as an individual, but I kind of wanted to take you guys on my journey, just briefly, as far as where I'm particularly at with my channel and my entrepreneurship as far as being a content creator. So I named this particular video The Price of Success. Now, before we get started, like normal, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all social media platforms. We've been doing great. My next goal is to get to 600. And obviously in the long term is to get to 1K. That's my goal. Hopefully we can make it there by the end of the year, but if we don't, that's all right. The objective is just to keep striving forward, which should be everybody's mentality when it comes to entrepreneurship. So, again, the price of success. Now, it's a very interesting topic or path that I'm particularly on in my life, because it is entrepreneurship, as we know, is often a very, very lonely and uncertain road for anybody who's ever done anything. And it involves you taking a lot of risk. And like they say, if you don't take any risk, there's no possibility of you getting any reward. And when we say reward is not necessarily, is not directly tied to financial compensation or money or finances coming in. But sometimes it's often, okay, if you take a risk by doing something that you're not comfortable with, it usually opens a door that could get you to your end goal, which is compensation or revenue or income or some type of residual income to where you don't even have to work anymore. But as far as for me, obviously, when it came down to my journey, is that I've been dancing for over 15 years of my life. And one of the biggest hurdles for me, probably roughly around when I kind of turned 25, I'm 33 now. When I turned 25, I started kind of having those few minor injuries and stuff like that started hindering me. First, it was my feet. As a dancer, I got bunions and, my arches are completely collapsed. Not completely, but they're probably about 89% collapsed. And I have bad knees. I'm a tall dude. I love running. And I've always loved dancing. So that in itself, is an oxymoron. Or a contradiction. You should not be that tall, that big, moving in that way, while exercising and putting your body through that much damage. And it kind of got to a point to where I was just I love dance, but I'm not so ignorant to where I can't look 5 years into the future and say, okay, what am I going to do with this? I obviously am much more passionate about teaching and creating events and doing things that involve leadership than I am about necessarily being the best. Yes, we all have our moments and desires. If you're like myself, we all have our moments to where it's just man, I want to be the best. I want people to fear and revere me. I want people to put me on the same pedestal that they put all these other people that I see on social media. Because even the constant reminder of me being just completely open and vulnerable, the constant reminder of me seeing people that I taught or I brought into the game or I mentor or have to lead are getting much more respect based off of their craft of dance than I get credit for being a leader or my dance or teaching them how to dance. That stuff really got to me, and it almost damn near gave me nightmares, and it made me very, very uneasy. Hence was the reason why I stopped doing, for some people that know, that one of the personal reasons why I stopped doing song session, and I stopped doing a lot of things, because I was spending my time investing into people who didn't value me. And were just simply using me to get to their next opportunity, which is part of the reason why, for some people that know, I got rid of my fam. I stopped doing song session. I took a break from Bridge the Gap. It was just people were constantly taking from me, but nobody ever even had the audacity to say thank you or appreciate my time and effort. It was always just I'm always mentioned in people's third breath. They would talk about themselves. They would talk about the people that were important to them, who were popular, the popular people that didn't value them, but only because they wanted clout. And then they would bring up me, or they would bring up the things in which I contributed to the scene. So it got to a point where I was just like, man, I need to find something that makes me happy, that's not so that doesn't hinder my body so much. In which, here we are. I created the channel to where I wanted to be able to talk about anything that I wanted to, whether that be politics, which I definitely plan on doing here in the near future. The next topic that I really want to start talking about consistently is battle rap and having conversations about, social interactions and behaviors and stuff like that, and getting guests on here. Because I think that's very important, considering that I am in a social environment of artists. So I still think those kind of correspond hand in hand. But this is where the first step where I started, which was 2.5 years ago, where desire happened. I desired for something that was uniquely my own, that no one could take from me. My name was always on it, hence where the channel came from. I already had my own voice, but as we know, doing live streams on social media and stuff like that only goes so far. So that was the first step for me, was desire. I wanted something that was uniquely mine, that no one could say like they had a hand in creating, and they didn't. Everything that I have here, I did myself. Like, people pitched ideas and stuff like that to me, but it was always just simply kind of like, a pond in the ocean of information that I specifically needed to scoop out. And some people gave me some help as far as like equipment and directions where I wanted to go. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's kind of like they say, like the best equipment to use is the equipment that works best for you. So that was a big thing for me. So desire was the first step, but I still hadn't taken not necessarily the full-blown steps to as far as like making it happen. I was just kind of like, I've got this equipment, but I don't know what to do. And then I got my first real push from Pun about 1.5 years ago. He was just like, just put something out. Doesn't matter how good it is, just start somewhere. And oddly enough, that was the most simplest piece of advice that I could get, but it was just simply just like, just put it out. Because once you put it out, you're not gonna be content with this level of quality. You're always gonna push to do more. So that was a big motivation, probably the biggest piece of motivation I've ever gotten in my life, more than anything, because it got me to this point to doing this here. So I will ever be grateful for that. And then so once I kind of started picking up momentum, the next step that I've actually just I got out of it probably about the beginning of this year, was sacrifice. And there's two parts for that for me. There was sacrificing me. So sacrificing me was the fact that I had to get this to a point to where I'm enjoying it. Because anything that you start for the first time is always going to be ugly. It's not going to be as refined as you want it to be. In the last 6 to 7 months, this is now at the point to where I actually like looking at my content, or actually I like looking at whatever it is that I do with the channel, even kind of in semblance as far as for dance. It took me a long time to get to this point to where it's like, oh, I like actually watching the content. Like, this stuff's not cringeworthy, or or you look so uncomfortable, or your outfit don't match, the lighting don't match, and so on and so forth. You get what I'm saying? I was upset that I was only doing 50%, about half as good as I knew I could potentially do, but I was sacrificing that 50%. I was taking it away from dance. And so that was making me really unhappy, and obviously the constant reminders as far as like not having, enough subscriptions, stuff like that, or not consistently seeing it as much as I want to. I wasn't able to travel the way I wanted to because, life was getting in the way and I had a lot of responsibilities. Even had a child 3 years ago, which was another big weight, or another thing that I had on my plate that I had to tackle because I refused to be a deadbeat father. But it was just making me miserable. So I was learning that if you want, like they say, like if you want something you never had, you got to do something you never done before. And so dance was my only love. It was all I knew, and it's all I ever wanted to do. So when it came down to a point to where it's like, all right, if you really want this to pop, man, then you're gonna have to sacrifice this time over here. This is what you're going to have to do. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You want it to happen? Okay, you're gonna have to give this up over here. And so sacrificing me, that was like a really big one, because that was, there's no greater war than the one that's waged within your mind. I didn't know what to do. I was doing the mechanics. I was walking the routes, I was doing the videos and stuff like that. But it was a slow process as far as like saving up for equipment, learning particular angles, understanding my camera, figuring out like what the content needed to be, what I wanted it to be, what I wanted to talk about. Like those things were really critical for me, and I just couldn't figure it out. But I got out of that phase when I kind of started, to enjoy myself more and get more comfortable. And I saw, I can't remember what it was, but I saw a video last year, and it was saying that, a lot of people struggle with creating content because they're looking for content instead of being the content, which is obviously a combination of what I do. Get in here and get comfortable with yourself on the camera. Just put stuff out where it's just you versus it always being somebody else, because you can't rely upon that X variable of having another person there to feed off of that energy. If you can't project the same level of encouragement and enjoyment and glee that you have by yourself in front of a camera, then it's not going to be the equivalent, or if you can't do the same thing with a person that you can do by yourself, then it's not going to translate. It just wouldn't work. So it took me some time to figure that out, but now I finally got it. And then the stage that I'm currently in right now, that I've been in, like I said, kind of towards the beginning of this year, was sacrificing others. And now I understand that sounds very, very, very bad, but let me articulate. So if you look at some of the most successful people in the world, and I know I talked about this before when we had the conversation about the elites versus leaders, there's a certain level when you are being an entrepreneur or a content creator, you have to have a relentless desire to be better, or to constantly improve, consistently developing yourself. And I got to a point to where I had to understand that by always prioritizing the needs and wants of others, I will never be able to be able to be the best that I could possibly be. There's no easy way to put it. We see it all the time when certain greats and stuff like that, their only motivation is being great. And if one thing that has stood the test of time, no matter what you do, if you're focused on being great, everything else that you usually desire out of life will come to you. Money, love, women or men, status, success, notoriety, whatever it is. Fulfillment. Maybe in some capacity, you'll have some ups and downs to where you do feel lonely. I do understand that. But it's different from, in my personal opinion, when it comes to somebody like me who's always put the needs and wants of others before myself. I found at a particular point that I started becoming resentful of people because it was just you guys are always so quick to ask something of me, but you just don't have the common courtesy to just simply ask me about me. It's always about others, and it's always about how you should do this, or how I should do this, or, hey, how about, can I help you with this? And so I realized, I was again, like they say, we see all these cliche sayings on TikTok and Instagram and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, they're absolutely right. You have to prioritize yourself above everybody else if you truly want to be successful. That's why you see so many people, so many millionaires and billionaires and stuff like that. They prioritize their business before anything else. Because even though it may be fleeting and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, that, money brings you, and success brings you opportunities to be happy. It can bring you happiness. You may not have the love of your life and stuff like that, but even I had to acknowledge that it's no secret and stuff like that. Even my fiance, she's not necessarily she's not an artistic person. She has a great job and stuff like that, and we have a family together. But in terms of ambition wise, I'm the ambitious one. And it's tough, and I tell people all the time, family, friends, jobs, and other hindrances will always be a distraction to your pursuing of success. If it's not aligned with your success or where you need to go, it is a distraction. And I'm not saying that you can't deal with distractions from time to time, but I will definitely say that those things will get in your way from time to time when you are picking up stride and you're trying to do things, because you are trying to balance home, life, family, job, finances, kids, whatever the case may be. And I'm not saying that just get up and like disregard your family or whatever the case may be. But I had to personally sit down and have a conversation, with my fiance and tell her like, hey, I need to prioritize this. I need to do this, because if I keep prioritizing what you want over what I want, I'm going to end up resenting you and I'm not going to like you. And this is the woman that I'm engaged with, that I have a child with. So when you are on your path to pursuing success or whatever it is that you desire, understand that you need to surround yourself by like-minded people. They may not necessarily need to do what you're doing, but they need to be people that are willing to support you emotionally, physically, and financially. You don't want those people that are just like, oh, this is my homeboy stuff over here. Give me the discount. Why would I want a discount from somebody who's my friend, who I support them? You have to be able to say, okay, I can't do this anymore. I need to prioritize myself. I'm not saying just be completely heartless, but we do have to accept the fact that like prioritizing yourself above all else is selfish. But I also know that by me doing this now, better late than never, as they say, I know that this is going to take me somewhere, and it's going to allow me to transition from physically having to be in the field of battle in terms of dance, and allow me to take much more of a backseat and supportive position, and also create opportunities for other people to come here and tell their stories, because it's important. Because, with all due respect, my city doesn't have that. Or at least I don't see that. I don't even see that in my state consistently. I don't see a consistent show where people are bringing people on and talking to them and doing that or whatever the case may be. If they are, by all means, feel free to drop their information and I'll subscribe and follow them. But just simply understanding is that like there's no perfect path to success. There's sacrifice and there's going to be a lot of loneliness. But understand, is it better for you to self-destruct and not be happy? Or is it better for somebody else to have what they desire in life and what they want in life and watch you self-destruct and they're still happy about it because they've got you doing what they want you to do? I'm in that point to where I've accepted at 33 years old, I'm late, but I told myself I'll never prioritize anyone else's happiness above my own. If they're aligned, that's good. We can work together. We can go the same direction. But I'm telling people, and I say that to all the artists, dancers, entrepreneurs, business people, do not sacrifice your desire to be successful, healthy, well, mentally stable, financially stable, whatever it is that you're trying to go towards. Don't compromise that for somebody else's happiness. Because the moment that you're happy and you're doing what you want is usually around the time when that person's not happy, because you're not doing what they want you to do. You might as well just say, fuck it and fine, I'll just be alone for the rest of my life. At least I know I took my shot. In my personal opinion, that's much more important than anybody else's happiness. It's crazy, but I'm just now kind of really starting to get that Mamba mentality. Just now, 33 years old, I truly, truly understand what it means to work hard and to strive for something. And to be relentless about it and not care about what anybody else thinks. Because at the end of the day, no one's going to care. If I fail, you're going to laugh at me. If I succeed, you're going to hate. So I'm not going to get what I want from you at the end of the day. So I might as well be happy with myself. And that's what's most important. Be honest with yourself. If you can do it in the right way, if you can maintain your integrity, respect others, be appreciative of others, communicate your emotions, and people support you, then choose that route. Always choose the route of support if people are willing to support you wholeheartedly. But if you got to do it by yourself, then you say fuck everybody else and you go do it by yourself. You don't need to be weak-minded. And then if you allow people to keep you in a weak mentality, then you'll end up hating yourself. That's the quickest way, in my personal opinion, through my experience, to depression. Now, I've never had depression, but I've been depressed before. There's a big difference. But I know, considering who I am and how I conduct myself, I'm usually a pretty happy person. And it takes me a lot for me to be depressed. But I understand the one time that I was depressed, I was prioritizing everybody else above me. I ain't doing that again. I'm not going back. So I would just simply pass that information on and say, I wouldn't do that either. And and I wouldn't ask anybody else to do that for me. So if I can help you, by all means, let me know. So that's all I got. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all social media platforms. I hope this helps somebody. Again, the price of success. Peace.